Aloha, this is Sean Marlin. I'm coming to you from Hawaii. We're going to start our first bagpipe service app, and it's what I call the ping pong app. It's going to be real quick. So, one thing, I already have the Docker infrastructure running that you needed for state pipes from a previous uh, from the installation setup. So, I am going to, let's close this window. I'm going to, let's bring up Visual Studio, and I'm going to start a new StatePipes service. So we'll go Tools, New Bagpipe Solution. It's going to again ask me to select the root directory, and I already had aaa.ddd, so I'm just going to stick with aaa so I don't have to redo the infrastructure, and I'm going to call this ping pong, right? Ping pong. Okay. So here, I'm going to close down this Visual Studio because it's opening up another instance with my solution in it. Okay, real quick. Um, so let's go over some files in here. Builders, default setup. So what you're going to find, and I'm just going to tell you this real quick, is that this is autofact dependency injection, registration and container building. Um, So all states for a state machine are built uh, by AutoFac behind the scenes. So if your constructor for a state requires any sort of entity in order to do its work, you will have to, create that entity and register it right here in default setup. Okay, we already have a state machine and it's called the ping pong state machine. Let's go into there. We have a parent state. The first state in every state machine has to be decorated as this, then no other state. But if you create a different state machine, you're going to have to do the same thing. Um, that's one thing I wanted to point out. And another thing I wanted to point out is these triggers are created for you. Send current status command, and you see that it's decorated. It's just like every other trigger for the ping pong state machine, and you'll see that in a second, but it's decorated with I get current status command. So what happens is if you had a proxy that attached to this service, it's going to send this command, which is not a trigger because it's system level. It says get current status. Then the underlying infrastructure is going to look for this command because it's decorated with this, and it's going to send that command to the state machine. Okay, and then in your state machine, which I already have it, um, I already have a handler for a get current status command, and you can see right here, you don't have to do what it says here. It's just you do something. You actually can do nothing, but uh, if someone's connecting to you, they want to kind of get it status so they can say, okay, I know where everything's at. That's what this is for. Okay, all that being said, now let's start deleting things we don't need. First off, we're going to leave current status event, even though it's for now. Um, we don't need a dummy event. Let's delete that. We don't need a dummy trigger. These were just for examples. We'll delete that. Um, we'll go into the parent state, and you should have errors right now because it's referencing stuff that is not. Oh, wait, Control Z. Uh, the dummy trigger guard, and there is no more dummy trigger. But also in the test project, these are tests that were created just to illustrate how to use the test framework. That'll be in a later video. So we're just going to comment out all these tests for now. Just leave them in there for reference. But so let's see, we build this, we build this solution. Let's close this for now. Yes, it builds just fine. Okay, so I want to ping pong back and forth between a ping and a pong state once a second. Okay. And because we have our first state, we're going to make them children of this parent state. So I'm going to do add class, and we'll call it ping state. And then I'm going to add a class, and we're going to call it pong state. Okay, now they're just classes right now. We're going to make them actually states. All right. So in order to do that, we're going to make them a base state machine state, and we're going to tell it it belongs to the ping pong state machine. So, okay, we'll inherit from this, and we'll do that for both. Okay, and oh, sorry about that typo. Okay, so now it's telling me, and it should be on both. Uh, okay, and I needed a using, and now I need to implement this abstract class. Okay, so what does this method do? Well, this configures your state within the state machine, the ping pong state machine. Um, so, uh, how, how do you know what to do in that? If you go to this page, state configuration wrapper, underneath the wiki, it tells you all the different methods and options, and I'll leave that the up to you guys in order to read this. But it's all based on stateless state machines. So I am going to configure this as, let's see, it's going to be a substate of parent state. Okay. Um, and we're going to allow, okay, for now we're going to do that. And we're going to do that for both ping pong, for both ping state and pong state. Okay, so they're now both states of parent state, but parent state has two substates. Which one should it go into when it first enters the parent state? Well, we're going to tell it that here in the parent state, we're going to say move to state, we'll call it ping state. Okay, and so since this is the parent state is the since parent state is the parent state of ping and pong, as soon as it comes into parent state, it's going to move straight to the ping state. Okay, now we're going to add a couple, we're going to add a couple of, well, we're going to add one, I think we'll add them both here. Okay, we're going to add two internal triggers, and we'll say class, and they're going to be just empty triggers. One's going to be a uh, periodic trigger. Okay, and we'll flesh that out a little bit more in a second. And then the other is going to be what I call um, the hit trigger, because you're hitting a ping pong ball. Trigger. Okay, and now we're going to make them both triggers for the ping pong state machine. So they're going to inherit from base trigger command, and this type is going to be ping pong state machine. So this trigger is for the ping pong state machine, and it's a trigger. Okay, so now we're going to do the work. So whenever we're back here in the configure, and this is a Fluent API, so we can just keep adding on dots here. Let's say we're going to permit, and then we're going to say hit trigger, and we're going to go to the Pong state. And it's that simple. Let's do the reverse for the Pong state and say dot permit hit trigger. We'll go to ping state. Okay, so that's all well and good, but we are going to create a periodic, and it's the periodic's going to fire off this periodic trigger. Then we're going to handle that trigger here in the parent state, and we're going to say, okay, every time I'm handling a periodic trigger, let's send a hit trigger. Okay, so real simple. So we're going to create a constructor. Okay, well, first we're going to create private read only I delayed message sender. I'm going to say periodic trigger, and we'll call that delayed message sender. If you want to understand what a delayed message sender is and what are some of these other methods that you can do on inside a base state class, you go here to sorry, um, base state machine state, and it has all the methods and descriptions. And I will leave that up to you to read this. In here is a method we are about to use. And once we create the constructor, we'll do that for now, just to create the constructor, but I don't want to pass it in. I want to set this using a create delayed message sender, and we're going to do periodic trigger, and that's all we got to do. Oh, this is going to be nullable. Okay. Um, so now what I want to do is when I enter parent state, I want to start this periodic. And obviously, if you start a periodic, when you leave parent state, you want to exit that, right? So we're going to say do on enter. Again, this is in those pages I showed you. We're going to say on enter. So that's on entry, and then dot on exit. Let's say on exit. Okay. Now I'll just create these methods using the quick actions. Okay, so what are we going to do here? So first thing we're going to do is when we enter, we're going to start the periodic, right? We're going to say dot start periodic time span from seconds 1, and we're going to tell it to send a new periodic trigger. And this trick only works if you're not. We're only constructing a periodic trigger, so this same instance is going to be sent over and over and over again. Um, okay, yeah, let's put the question mark here. Okay, then on exit, we want to stop the delayed message sender. Stop. Doesn't matter if it's a one shot or, oh, I must have deleted that. Okay. So now we've set up the periodic, it's firing the trigger, but now we got to handle the periodic trigger so that we can send the hit trigger. Okay. So we're going to then, so one of the things is we want to handle it, but we don't want to change the state machine because this is the parent state. And we're going to handle the trigger in the parent state instead of putting it on the two substates because it's the same code. And remember, substates inherit the behavior of their parent state unless they override it by defining their own handlers, right? And it's really not handlers, it's guards. But so what we want to do here is we want to say dot permit reentry if. And what this says is, okay, if I get this trigger, I'm going to allow myself to re-enter the parent state. But the if part says, well, I'm going to put a guard there. If it returns true, then yes, I want to do reentry. If it returns false, then basically I'm not handling this trigger. But it gives you a point to put this logic. So you sit there and you go permit reentry if, and we'll go periodic trigger, and then we'll give this periodic trigger, and we'll call it guard. So we're naming a method a guard. Okay. We're going to generate that method. Okay. You see it's got a return value of true or false. Remember, we don't want this to re-enter because what that will, if you're in the ping state and you, or even the pong state, and you re-enter parent state, you exit the pong state, you exit the parent state, you re-enter the parent state, which will automatically push you into the ping state. And if you're in the ping state, it would force you to do the same thing and you'd wind up right back into the ping state. So you have to understand stateless state machines, hierarchy or pseudo inheritance and the rules. But that's a little outside the scope here. So, so with this periodic trigger guard, I never want to re-enter, so I'm going to always return false. Okay, but I want to do something, right? So I want to send, because this is going to be exercised once a second, I want to send a new hit trigger. Okay, and send command, sorry. Send command hit trigger. Again, this send command hit trigger is in base state machine. It's right here, so you can read up on it. And that means it will send the hit trigger, and we only have handlers on ping state or pong state, and only the active state will be uh, queried in order to handle the trigger. So that's our first program. Now, let's see if it works as we think. Okay, so let's build this. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, again, I'm using ISE for visualization for you guys. I'm going to go into the run scripts in this solution folder I just created. It's ping pong run scripts, and I'm going to select start and stop. Okay. Okay, let's get rid of this one. And I'm in start here, so this will launch everything. I have the infrastructure going. Okay, wait until, oh, sorry, I must have hit the debug button there instead of hit the wrong start button, didn't I? Okay, we're going to hit the start button here. All right, so my service is running. I just need to put the password in here. Again, we can open up Docker infrastructure start in order to get the password. Um, we'll put in that password and we'll connect. It should discover everything. It did. But what we're really interested, because we can see that we're communicating, uh, we want to look at the state machine. So what does the state machine look like? Let me move this out of your way. It's got the parent state, the ping state, and the pong state. But one thing that's not happening is it's not moving back and forth. So why is that? We have a bug. Um, Let me go back and we're going to look at the heartbeats are just going just fine. Uh, okay, well, let's stop this. Okay, we're going to exercise the stop command. And we are going to go back into our solution and see if we can figure this out. I'm going to again put you down here. Um, okay, on enter, we started the periodic's going. We're sending the hit trigger command. Let's just go to definition. Yep, we got the hit trigger going there. We'll open the ping state and look, hit trigger will take us to pong state, and hit trigger will take us to ping state. So, um, okay, so I'm back. Yeah, so this will be good. A good example. So, um, one of the things that I did was I went and I closed down the service manually, the command prompt, and then I brought back up the ping pong service in the debugger, and I said, okay, let's see where we're at, and I should be able to pull up our visual. So we should see right here our heartbeat counters started over, but it's incrementing, so we're good. I go to the state machine, it's still stuck. So I was like, what's going on? So I came in here and I placed a breakpoint at the periodic trigger. It's not starting. Um, and I said, okay, well, the next thing to do is maybe to start over and see if on enter is being called. But I didn't need to go that far because I figured out what the issue is. The stop goes in exit, the start goes in enter. I was going too fast. That's why things aren't working. So let's stop this. Let's close that window. Let us just switch these around. Um, okay. And we will, again, we'll just rebuild, build, rebuild. And we're going to launch this again from the start. Okay. Doesn't take too long. We need the password, so we'll copy that. We'll go back to that window. Let me close these down. You guys don't need to be looking at my email. And we'll connect. We'll expand that. Okay, I'm going to pull this up here. Again, what we wanted to see was the state machine. And we're in the ping state. Oh, we're in pong state. We're seeing once a second, it's going back and forth between the two states. So that's what I wanted to show you. A little snafu, but I think that was good. And thank you for watching. Okay, bye.